Okay, welcome everybody again. I'm Sarah, board certified art therapist at the Wellness Center, and this is our Drawing for Wellness weekly Zoom, and a portion of it will be recorded for people to use outside of the group. And all you'll need today are some paper, some pencils and pens, or like a fine point Sharpie. So let me read this waiver. I have to read each time really quick. In order to make these classes as freely accessible as possible to our participants, we'll be using a verbal warning and assumption of risk at the beginning of our class. Participation in this online class is voluntary, right? Not making any of you come. Physical activity programs may result in injury, and by participating, you assume the risk of injury that may result from your participation. This is pretty low risk, guys. We strongly recommend that you participate from a space that's suitable for this activity. For example, make sure you have moved nearby furniture and other potential hazards. If you are participating in a yoga class or class that involves laying on the ground, we recommend you use a mat, or if you don't have one, a carpeted area. Participants are encouraged to stop if they're experiencing pain or injury and should seek appropriate medical advice or care as needed. William & Mary Health and Wellness strongly recommend that each participant have an annual physical exam and follow the advice of your healthcare provider before participating. Okay, that doesn't exactly apply to us, but thank you for listening. Also, I want to say today is World Art Day. Yay! Art is good for you. It's also the birthday of Leonardo da Vinci. Does anyone know how old he would be today? Taking guesses via the comment section. I'm such a dork. Okay. He would be 568 years old today. Y'all, big deal. Mona Lisa's been around a while. Okay, we are gonna get started with a fun drawing exercise today. And what I want you to do first is to think of a word or an affirmation word. So an affirmation would be like a positive reminder for yourself. We want to keep it positive. So not a phrase, but just a word. We're going to need one word for today, even though it could be a whole phrase, it could be a quote, but maybe take one word reminder from that. So, you know, all of us, I feel like, need that positivity around us now. It's been like a month and we're all kind of like, you know, in deep with the social distancing. And what are some things that, maybe think of something you're struggling with, and then the positive of that, like if you've been feeling down, you know, you could use a word like light, or, you know, I've been feeling like irritable, so I picked the word hope. You know, they don't necessarily go together, but it felt like a good reminder for me. So some sort of word that you need as a reminder, or you'd like to have around you, something to keep your spirits up. Okay. So then I guess you could use a phrase, but that would take a little bit, but you know, we have all the time in the world right now. So that's fine if you want a longer word or phrase. And then I just have plain paper. I just fold it in half. Doesn't have to be anything super big. A pencil with an eraser we're going to need today. And then I have, or just an eraser and a pencil. They don't have to be attached. A fine point Sharpie or a pen. But you want it to have a good fine tip, not not like a thick marker tip. Okay. So then what we're going to be doing is, I can show you a finished one, but I did it kind of in a rush. We're going to take our time. But what you're going to do is you can do it along with us, and it takes a while. So I'm not sure how well you can see my desk spot, but I will keep putting it up to the camera. So say, what's another word? You don't have to tell yours, but I would love to hear like a couple words you guys could give me as an example, and I'll use that in mine. So feel free to type in the chat. And I'm going to start with your pencil. So give me a word. I'm looking for a positive word from participants. You're going to start with your pencil, and I'll explain what we'll do next. Okay, let's see. Oh, faithful. I like that. Okay, cool. Yes, thank you. So I'm going to start writing my word in block letters. And I'll show you. Doesn't have to be perfect. And you guys at home, if you want to start writing in block letters your affirmation word, and you want to kind of keep the letter writing part. See, I'm starting to write it. Hopefully you guys can see it. Pretty, don't do anything fancy cursive right now. And I'll explain why. And this part, don't forget, is in pencil, okay? So, and it's helpful to do it lightly, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm just continuing to write my full word. Thank you for this idea from my participant. And as best you can, writing in those block letters. Now, it does not have to be perfect. That's my art therapy mantra, and you'll see why. Okay, so see that I have my word. I can't see. Eek. Okay, there we go. I have my word here, my block letters. Then what we're gonna do is think of a variety of line patterns. So after you have done your pencil portion, your letters, you're then going to take something permanent like a Sharpie, and it is fun to use different colors. I just happen to have this green one. And within each letter, like I did here, you're gonna do a different line pattern. And I wanna tell you a little tip for that too. So I'm gonna start on my F, and I think all I'm gonna do, I'll make it in the screen so you can see, are some broken lines. Now I'm gonna do it, and then I wanna put it back up because I saw people looking, right? So see, I'm just starting with some broken lines. And then I'm gonna give you a little tip for this because it's hard to come up with these, hopefully y'all can see that, these different line patterns. So there's kind of like this trend. I mean, I would call this a line pattern, but there's this trend where people are calling it Zen doodling. So what you can do, I'm going to do it here for you. I'm not that great at technology, as you guys have seen, but I'm going to go to Google Image and enter in Zen doodle patterns. Okay. Click on images. Now I do this for a lot of my art. I am not the person that can just be like, boom, I'm gonna draw a gazelle, and I like draw a gazelle. I need to look at stuff personally. But so now I'm gonna share my screen with you all. I think I can do this. And I'll just show you, like, just from a simple Google search, there's so many different patterns you can just look up. Like, I think this is one that I normally have around just in my art therapy groups. But see, you can find so many different just repetitive line patterns and use those to fill. Now some of these have shading. You don't need to get that fancy, but look at this fun drawing. Okay, I would not use words like this. But so any of these sort of line patterns, there's sort of like a variation on a street there, a zigzag, rainbow arches, even just, blocks like this are good. So now I'm going to stop sharing, come back. Hi. Okay, and so just for inspiration, you have those. And so in each letter, don't do two different ones in each letter, but for each letter, do a different line pattern. Now I'm going to work on mine a little bit here, and I'll show you as I go. And I think I said this last week, but I wanted to reiterate it again here, that if you come to one of my art therapy groups at our beautiful wellness center, I usually have kind of like aromatherapy going in the background with essential oils, or I definitely always have relaxing music. And although I think that will kind of mess things up on this virtual one, the music might get a little complicated. I encourage you guys at home to do that yourselves. So like when you sit down and try to do something soothing like this, you know, taking a break in your day to do art, it's really great to add those little touches. The other day when I sat down to do some work, I put on a candle, and I don't know why, but that really just made it for me. I'm like, oh, it smells great, the glow. Like, it's just the little things. And sometimes I'm like, nah, I don't need that. And then I put on, like, that candle just made it for me. I'm not gonna lie. So I encourage you guys to do the same at home. Like, it's like I was knitting, and I took it outside. I have a little porch swing, luckily, and gosh, that just rocked my day. You know, people getting on my nerves, my kids, my husband, and I'm like, I'm just gonna go outside and knit. And I came back a different lady, I'll tell you. So anyway, sometimes I just kind of blabber during this portion of the recording, but in any case, I really do think that art making is just such a de-stressor, and all these little touches that we can do for ourselves, like the candles or putting on some essential oil or just some of your favorite music, they do help. So as you can see, I've done the first 2 letters, right? And you could maybe do each letter a different color. It's up to you. And I'm going to keep going. Another favorite of mine is just the checker, like kind of coloring in every other box. And, you know, as you can see, like, it doesn't take a ton of materials. If you do come to my art therapy groups at the Wellness Center, I always provide the materials, and we have a wide variety, which is fun. But this whole experience of doing it virtually has shown me that you really don't need to always have, you know, fancy and different supplies. It's fun to just use a marker, or the other day somebody in one of my groups was just using like a highlighter and a pencil. And so there's lots of options out there. And I know that a lot of the art supply stores are still open and doing curbside, which I'm grateful for, considering it's just essentials. I'm glad that we consider that an essential, because I certainly do. But I would love to hear for this interactive part, not interactive, recorded part of the session, if people could write what are some of the affirmation words that you've picked. I would love to hear them. If you could type them in the chat while I'm doing my line drawings, or my Zen doodle, as it's being called now. What are some? Oh, grace. I love that. Open. I love it. Gratitude. Surrounded. Oh, right. I hear that. Yeah. Those are beautiful. I love them. Wow. What else? Light. Yep. I hear you. So, and this will be a nice thing you can just kind of keep around you. You could maybe put it, I don't know, by your nightstand or on your dresser or your mirror or something in the morning, and just have it as a reminder around you. And you could make them for people in your family too. There's something about drawing, and especially doing repetitive lines like this, that is very, very calming and meditative. So I was hoping this would be a good activity for people today. So this is how far I've gotten. And now I'm going to show you the next step because I don't think people want to sit here watching me draw all day. I mean, I love to draw video. I don't need to watch. Okay, so say I finished it, right? I've done all mine, and you can pick a much more complicated background. You could even add to it now. Like you could then put, I kind of think it's fun to go back into a lot of these. So for example, on this first one, I just had diagonals, but now I'm like, no, I'm going to make it busier by adding like the broken lines in between, right? So you can always keep coming back to it. You could have done different colors. You can add more detail later. So then what you do is go back in, once you've done each letter and once you've done your background, you just go back in and you erase your original outline of the letters. So I haven't done the background for this one, but I am going to do the erasing just to show you. This is why you needed kind of a good eraser, and that's why it's good to have permanent pen and not marker so that it doesn't smear when you do the erasing portion. And also, somebody was saying yesterday who had access to watercolors. Now, that's a little, not everybody has that, but if you do, could be fun then to go over and do a wash with it, like a watercolor wash. But so I wanted to show you, I just started to erase after I had done these first few letters, so you can see. I mean, I should have done the background too, but I just kind of wanted to show you. And so oh, it looks really good. You can actually see it pretty well when you hold it away too. So with that said, this is our Drawing for Wellness activity this week. It's a repetitive line drawing with a word affirmation. And we will stay on the line now and be able to interact more, but the recording portion we'll conclude now. And so I hope these affirmations are a beautiful reminder to you all, and we will be back. I'll be back next week. Thanks.